You're live.
Good afternoon. It's Friday afternoon. I'm on here because I want to introduce a very special artist that I was blessed to work with, and I just want to tell a real quick story how he came to be, his name came to be on my lips. About 2 years ago, I was looking for somebody to open up for a Diane Reeves show. And I called a very good friend of mine who is no longer with us, but is also a very good friend of the jazz world, Fumi Onanaye. And I call Fumi because Fumi is always on the scene. If you want to find out, well, it used to be if you wanted to find out what someone sounded like that you hadn't heard, you call Fumi and say, "Hey, Fumi, have you seen this person? What's this person sound like?" So I called Fumi, and Fumi said, "You should hire this kid, Tyreek McDole. He's the real deal." And I hadn't heard you yet. But I've known Fumi for a long time, and I said, okay. And it didn't work out that year, but come around into the beginning of the year, um, my friend, another friend who also passed away, rest in peace, Jean-Philippe Allard was looking for um, artists. And I told him, I said, this is kid Tyreek McDowell, and I think he's going to be playing. You should come and see him. And we came down to a crazy place in Midtown. It looked like a gangster's retreat that was done to the max. But Tyreek had a great band, young band, and we sat through two sets and introduced and spoke to him. And as soon as we left, Tyreek was like, "Yeah, we're definitely going to sign him. I'm definitely going to sign him." And that's how you came to be on Artwork Records, Jean-Philippe's label.
Wow.
This young man is very special. I ended up getting to work with him on this first record. Um, People that know me, I've worked with singers a lot, but this guy is really special. Has a unique perspective, unique voice, his choice of material, and he also is really on the scene, much like my other friend Fumi, and he knows a lot of cats that I haven't heard, that are all dope. So all the people that are playing on this record, especially the younger cats, are all dope. Um, and getting to work with him for the first time was really a joy. And I'm really happy this record is finally releasing to the public, so everyone can hear it, hear this voice. For those people that have been out on the scene, especially in New York and at some of the festivals that he's played out, you already heard what he can do. But now you can take it home. The vinyl's out, the CD's out, streaming's out. Go get it. Get yourself some Tyreek McDowell. All right, Tyreek, you want to talk a little bit about your first foray in your session and what's going on around
Y-
town with
Yeah,
you?
sure thing. Thank you for that introduction, Brian. Psych, I call you Coach.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Coach. I really appreciate just the story and hearing some of that background too. Because when I first moved to New York, I was always outside just trying to get a gig, and then one of the people that I knew pretty intimately was Fumi. He was always on the scene. He was always doing this thing. He was such a ball of light. You would hear him before you see him. Yeah, and he's just a beautiful spirit. I know we miss him dearly, but he lives on in the music, and he lives on in all the people that he touched. Same with Jean Philippe. When he came to, we were playing. I guess I won't say the name of the venue since you likened it to a gangster.
Yeah. No,
But
listen. I, is it still operating? That's the question I had. It was a
that's what
beautiful
I want to know.
space. It was a
No,
beautiful space, but it was like it felt like it was where people go for after hours to gamble.
oh, for
It
sure
was
that mob
really
money.
lush,
We love it.
really, but I was like, I've never seen, I know most of the clubs, and I was like, I've never seen this place before.
Yeah, it was a new club, but really dope spot. I love it. I love playing there. But yeah, I think that was actually probably the only time I met Jean Philippe. Because prior to that, we were just we were just
back and forth.
conversing over Instagram and Facebook,
Right,
and
right.
he's emailing me, and we're just talking about stuff, and I had the pleasure of actually meeting him, and I just got the sense that he was a very, very legitimate person, like human first, business second, and that always came across in our messaging to each other, and I see the camp that he surrounded himself with, being that you and Gail and Karen, all the folks that we love. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate the village that I was welcomed into. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, I guess when it came to recording a record, I was kind of dumbfounded. He heard me once online and then asked if I wanted to have a record, and I was like, sure. I'm not doing anything better. I don't got anything else better to do. That, in addition to just the fact that it was a grand opportunity. I was like, what do you say when you don't virtually exist in this space quite yet? What is your contribution to this scene, and what is your contribution to this legacy, this art form that we love so much? And then, I mean, that just really started churning the gears as to what is it that I want to document as my first statement, especially as an artist being born in 2000, playing music that's even older than a lot of the elders that are still playing it today. Um, what does it mean to be a part of that legacy? So I'm not only thankful for the opportunity, but I'm so thankful for the team that I have. Team being, my management. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Karen, my second management. Thank you, Brian, an excellent producer. I never felt like my toes were getting stepped on, and it was all love in the studio. I really appreciate that, especially for a first record. Thank you. I really do mean that. Thank you. And to
You're
my
welcome.
musicians, I don't know how I did it, but I got the A team. I got the Avengers on this track.
Tell us who's in the record.
Who's on the record? We have. Well, let me start with some of the younger folks. Some of the newer folks we have were Michael Cruz, a great trumpet player. He's from Tennessee. He's gone through Georgia. He was in the Atlanta scene for a while, but now he's here in Harlem, tearing the scene up, playing a whole bunch of trumpet on the record. Who else? We have my friend, the great Dylan Band. He's one of my favorite saxophonists on the planet. He's in my quintet, and we're going to continue to travel the world together. I'm going to have him as long as I can before he goes all Coltrane on me. Because a superstar. And speaking of Coltrane, someone a part of that legacy, they are the child or the progeny of a great hero who has passed, but is such a huge influence on me. Tomoki Sanders, the child of the great Pharaoh Sanders. Tomoki, I didn't even know Tomoki was the child of who their father was. I just knew that they were one of the dopest artists that I saw at the New Blue sessions at Producer Mondays. I was like, this guy's playing drums like a drummer. This guy's playing saxophone all the way like Pharaoh. That was crazy. And then producing, singing, I was like, you're doing everything that I like to do. You're such a cool cat. And I was like, yeah, I'm Tomoki. Okay, Tomoki. So cool. Tomoki. Who else is on there? Two of my favorite guitarists. I love the guitar, and especially the contemporary side of the guitar. It's the most Americana sound. It's traced all the way back to Africa. It's like one of the most human voices that I love so much. So I had to get Logan Butler, who's from South Carolina, who has all that zhuzh in there, and someone that's, in my opinion, innovating the sound of the guitar, Emmanuel Michael.
It was my first time hearing Emmanuel and Logan, and completely two different voices, but amazing.
Exactly.
Really, really unique.
Really, really love both of their individual voices, and they contribute so much to this record. I'm so thankful to have documented them before it cost like $5 billion to get them. Thank you so much. Thank you, Artworks. Who else did I got? I got a killing rhythm section too. We had the great Kenny Barron featured on one of the tracks. I did a duo, Ugly Beauty. Kenny is probably one of the best people on the planet that can play Monk's music. So that was an incredible opportunity, and I learned so much from that. And I was also very scared. I was so scared.
Hey, Justin Faulkner's getting ready to come on. I think he's logging
Oh
in now.
yeah, come on,
Yeah.
Justin.
Oh yeah, here he is.
Mr. Moneybags. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Oh,
Hello, everybody.
wealth
How
hey,
you doing?
Hey,
personified.
hey,
Justin.
Hey,
hey,
Wealth
Justin.
personified. Wow. Thank you
No,
so
no,
much.
no. Man, congratulations. Congratulations. The album sounds amazing.
Thank you, brother. You made it so good, especially your voice and your contribution, your vision. Thank you for joining my first outing.
I mean, thank you to all of you for having me. I mean, there was a really beautiful collective consciousness in the studio. And, new friends, old friends, mentors, new family. It was really special.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
That's great.
Well, listen, with Justin, and you didn't mention him yet, but Rodney Whitaker on bass, I was
Hmm.
like, well, I didn't have to worry about people I didn't know because the bass and drums, the rhythm section was going to be cooking,
You knew it.
You
you
see what I'm
know. So,
saying? I'm
and it
very
was,
thankful for Rodney Whitaker, man. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for
Uncle
him, I
Rodney.
wouldn't be singing.
Hmm.
Tell
I
us
wouldn't be
about
ah,
it.
singing.
Tell us
yeah,
about
I, well, he used to have a jazz orchestra in Orlando. Dr. Phillips Jazz Orchestra, I think was the name of it. I can't really remember, but he would come and visit a lot of the local schools through Jazz at Lincoln Center, through all these other ventures, and that was my first time hearing the bass, like the upright bass played the way that it should be played, and then also just coming from someone who has such a fatherly spirit. He really loves all of his students and the people that he mentors. He has a huge love for the dissemination of this music and this culture. He's living in Michigan. He didn't have to do all that for me. He had a little camp, and then he kept up with me. He hired me for gigs when I was in college because I was nearby. So he said, "Why not? He's serious. He wants to. Why not give him a chance?" So I'm forever thankful to the Whitaker family, the whole family. Raquel especially. That's my big sister. Rodney, that's like my uncle. Miss Cookie,
it.
everybody over there. It's all love, and they don't just play this music; they live this music. So I'm
Yeah.
so very thankful. You know, so very thankful for everybody that was a part of it. And I was not expecting it to be that killing between Justin and Rodney. I mean, I should have, because you know
You
who I'm
should have.
dealing with.
hey, listen, I wasn't worried. As long as
No,
the
I
two of
think
them
we
were,
I think we all, especially where I can really speak for myself, I had to rise to the occasion with Uncle Rodney because the level of musicality and I mean experience that man has been on so many records,
Hmm.
and like pivotal records for us as well. So I mean there were moments when he played two notes, I said, "Oh, it's on." Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Let me just let me button up the jacket a little bit, but it was really special. And Emmanuel too. Goodness gracious.
Hmm.
I mean
Hmm.
everyone, like Dylan, Logan, Sullivan, Mr. Barron.
I know
Woo,
that.
Lord.
yeah, we talked about that
Yeah.
Mm.
Karen,
always.
Karen, tell the story of when and how you met Tyreek.
Okay. So I have to laugh because in both Justin and Tyreek, we have a we have two people who at the age at a very, very young age
Mm.
played with Mr. Barron. And Justin, having played with him for a while now, understands
Mm.
uh, that you don't have to be afraid of him, although people are.
Mm.
Uh, but you don't have to be, because Kenny, the reason why he works with people is because he knows that they're going to kick his butt, in his words. And
Mm.
that's what he loves. So we were on, I first met Tyreek actually at had heard about him. I was at Gail Boyd's APAP showcase at the Yamaha piano salon. That's when I first met you. But when I first
Right.
got to know you a little tiny bit was on the jazz cruise that I was on, because Kenny Barron and his trio were on it, and Tyreek was there with Jazz House Kids, and I said to Kenny, I said, "Come on, let's go hear this band." I said, because I want to check this guy out. he's talking to Gail about management, and I said I was going to check him out. And Rico, and so it was Kenny, his wife Joanne, myself. I think Jonathan Blake was there too, and we
Yeah.
went to go hear you play. And it was on the cruise in this room, and you did the creator has a master plan, and you did oh shucks, this other song I can't think of it, but I know it's in your repertoire. It's from the 70s, and Kenny and I just like looked at each other, and that was it. There was just a look. And so,
It was
Kenny
on.
is a man of very few words. And until you hang with him for a minute. But had a great time. I don't know that we introduced ourselves after that. But then you were playing a second gig. And so I said, come on. And Kenny said, let's go to this second gig. And this one was outdoors. And we sat, I think, in the third row. So we could hear. And after that, again, Kenny, man, a few words like, yeah. And then fast forward, I'm like, that was in January. We wanted to start recording in October of that year. So in about July, I started talking about, well, who do you want on the album? And he said, you know that guy, Tyreek? I said, yeah, Tyreek McDole's. He's like, yeah, call him. I'm like, okay. I said, well, what do you want him to do? He's like, I don't know. Just call him. I'm like, okay. I said, well, Gail's managing him. I'll call. He said, great. Gail's managing him. All right, great. Because then he's like, he has an in because he's managing him. He's like, cool. It's I don't have to say much. I can just talk.
We're on.
It's gonna be on. And so sure enough, it was so great that then Kenny said, let's do more than one song. Now this is Kenny. Then Gail calls me like, well, do you think Kenny would do a song on Tyreek's album? I'm like, well, he already likes the guy, so yeah, because he wants him on his album, so yeah. that sure. I don't even have to ask him. I can just say, yeah, that's a yes.
It was amazing. From everything I heard in the studio, I heard it was an amazing
Kenny loves working with younger musicians. He has for all of his career, and he loves it because he hears something new, and he hears a space that he feels he can be a part of. And that is how it was with Justin. That is how it was with Jonathan Blake. That is how it is with Savannah Harris. That is how it is with Tyreek McDole. That is how it was with David Sanchez back in the day.
Wow.
Terrence Blanchard back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
These are all people he worked with at a very young age. And so I think the fact that Kenny hears something that allows him to feel comfortable in your space, Tyreek, says that you communicate on a level that many people aspire to, but don't always allow themselves to get there.
That's beautiful.
I appreciate that.
In the studio, when I was there, I will tell you that Creator Has a Master Plan became a spiritual experience. Wouldn't you agree, Justin? It wasn't just that you all were recording.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, and Brian, we were in the and we were all going like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, your husband was Walter was just like, and he was in the zone for the whole thing.
He was like, this is gonna go everywhere.
I think that day I said, get me a rough mix because I got to send it to you for Walter, because I could tell he just fell in love. He was like, okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you're just hanging out in the studio, you're not working, it could be tedious, because you're waiting for stuff. But there was a special thing happening. Hey, Tyreek, you have to mention the rest of the musicians on the album. You missed some people.
Surely, I didn't forget.
Okay, all right.
So I'll go real quick. All the pianists. We had the great Sullivan Fortner. He actually didn't play no piano on the album. he played Rhodes, and he played Hammond
B3.
B3 organ, and that was incredible contributions. The great Kenny Barron obviously played piano, and one of my closest collaborators and great friends, he just graduated from the Juilliard School. He studied at William Patterson with the great Bill Charlap as well. Mr. Kalen Cardello was at the piano. And I think that's everybody. I think I got everybody now at this point.
I think so.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
I'm curious to know what allowed you to find connection with music that is in this in-between period. It's not, throwbacks to, the 40s and 50s. It's not the 80s. It's not, the 20s. It's in between. And I'm curious to know how you found, what was it about that music that inspired you to find a new way of expressing it?
Wow. That's actually a great question. I think it would be the fact that I went to Oberlin. I studied at the Oberlin Conservatory, and it's not just the fact that I went to school; it's the people that were there. So I had the chance to study with the great Billy Hart. I got to study with who else was there? Gary Bartz, exactly. Eddie Henderson. They're kind of what I would consider to be a somewhat lost generation to my generation. We're so busy. We're so focused on the music of like John Coltrane and Monk and folks like that we often miss the people who are very close to us. Like Gary Bartz played with Miles Davis and Freddie Hubbard. Billy Hart got called for the Coltrane gig and James Brown gig. Like all these forms of music in which it was not just the exploitation of a certain Black aesthetic, but when the music became about Black empowerment, they were there during that time. And I think I'm very attracted to those sounds, and those folks in particular, those instructors in particular, they really challenged me to wonder, what is the music that you play? Why do you play it? Why do you like what you like? That we were doing that back in the day too. I knew Train and, like they're kind of that missing link that I didn't have the opportunity of having. And, I think that also speaks to just the legacy of the music and how we continue to push it forward and continue to disseminate it to a younger audience. It's an intergenerational experience. It's not just young and old. You like Marquise Hill, he liked Miles Davis, Eddie Henderson liked Miles Davis, and he knew him. You like John Coltrane, guess what? Gary Bartz knew him as well. So I think it's important to look back and reflect upon where you came from. And that's really how I got to all this music. Long-winded, but yes.
No, and I also like the fact, though, Tyreek, that you are singing from some of the contemporaries, from some of your contemporaries, Nicholas Payton and Alan Johnson and things like that. So you're bringing it in addition to your traditional Haitian song that you added on there that I thought was gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much.
Something else you mentioned about Tomoki, being a multi-instrumentalist and playing stuff. The first time that me and Jean-Philippe saw you were playing trumpet.
Yeah, I was.
So I was like, well, okay, all right. And then when we were mixing the record, you had your guitar with you every single night. So after we finished mixing, you were going out to a hit, to a gig or something. And I was like saying, he's playing guitar. And then I saw some videos of you playing drums. I was like, this cat is killing on drums. So what other instruments are you playing, man, that we're not aware of?
That's hilarious.
You're not just a singer. You're, and did you go to Oberlin as a trumpet major?
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
No, you're. I mean, sorry to confuse anyone that's been watching, but yeah, I dabbled with many an instrument. The trumpet was my first instrument, and I picked that thing up and I put it down. We have a toxic relationship with one another. It's really brutal. But yeah, I mean,
You sounded all right. So
hey, thank you for that. I'll take that compliment. But thank you. Yeah, I love just experimenting with not only instruments but also understanding the perspective of all these musicians that I adore and want to collaborate with, so that I can better understand where they're coming from. If I want to have a part written for you, actually that whole arc of playing many instruments started when I was talking to an off-Broadway composer, and he said the best way to compose is try to understand the instruments, just to like get a basic understanding of how these instruments work. So I learned the trumpet, I learned a little bit of saxophone, I learned some drums, learned some bass, I learned some piano, but I can't play no piano for my life. That's why I hired the best. I hired killer
well, you hired the
musicians
best
I
for
can hire.
everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will say this though, Tyreek, after having traveled with you a little bit and people hear your show and then they invite you to come to a jam session and they get real excited when you say you'll come and then you go and play drums with them all night.
Yeah, yeah. That was Paris. Yes, very much so.
Well, we got a few people who are saying hello to you. Here is April May Webb. Can't wait
Oh,
to
we
listen to
love
the
her.
full album. Yeah. Ina Dicta, who just had you do the Moody's Mood for Love and Benny's from Heaven.
Oh,
Oh, wait, that's
we
saying,
love
hey,
you.
she's saying up here, she's saying, hey, Tyreek. And then we have Michelle Taylor, another manager. Happy release date, Sora, brother.
Miss Taylor.
We got Carl Griffin. I cannot wait to hear this project.
Carl Griffin. My goodness, we bringing out the
See
good
you
folks.
in November. I know. And then Carl Griffin then says, hey, guys. So he's talking to all of us. Lydia Liebman says, on a flight and my atrocious Wi-Fi won't allow me to watch, but happy release day, Tyreek. And then
She's the best.
She's the best. She's getting some really great interviews. Maggie O'Dwyer said, Philly.
I love that. We got Philly in
Paul
the house.
Pierce said, hi, right? Philly's in the house. And that's it for now. But
Well, wait a minute. You got Paul Pierce here. He's saying hey from London.
That's true.
Oh, so good to see you.
From Ronnie Scott.
Oh.
That's right.
And he saw you when you did your performance in Bremen, Germany, to a packed, sold out
Jazz Ahead.
of folks from Jazz Ahead, and those are not easy to move. And you had them dancing and
Had him dancing. I swear, we saw him.
I have video in case you ever need a record. I got the video.
I'll take that.
And one of the few showcases that I've been to in Bremen where people walk up to you at that moment and say, I want this guy. Like we had 3 people who did that at the showcase.
Okay, I don't know how much time you have left, but I would love to hear from Tyreek about what your summer looks like.
Yes. Tell us about your summer.
We're going on our first international tour of the Tyreek McDole Quintets. And I'm joined by the great Kaylin Cardello at the piano. Dylan Band's playing both saxophones, tenor and soprano. Dan Finn's on bass, and Gary Jones III is playing drums. I'm so happy to have a young band traveling with me. And then we'll be all over the map. So next week we head to California. We're playing a few festival hits out there. Then we're going to go to Montreal and then to spend some time in France. A lot of time in France, actually. There's a lot of France on the tour.
A lot of France.
Germany, Austria, Spain.
Austria, Germany, though, yeah.
Yeah, and London, too. Yeah, we'll be at Ronnie Scott's. We're hitting, like, a lot of dream venues. Dream venues and dream festivals. So I'm very, very thankful for all the folks that make this possible. And I'm so excited to
Where can we get
make a noise.
tickets? Where can we get tickets?
Where can you get tickets? You can go to my website, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I got a
What is your
website. My website is my name, TyreekMcDole.com. So y'all can hit that. Thank you for the layup.
You can tell Karen is a manager.
If you want to learn game, that's how you do it.
And the other thing about Karen is she has enabled you to do a couple of things in between your tour. You're doing something on June 12th.
We cannot wait. We cannot wait. We've got
what are you doing? What are you doing and where are you doing it?
We've got the Kenny Barron Trio with it's called the Kenny Barron Vocals Project, which is the trio plus Tyreek McDole. It's we have an album coming out at the end of October that has Tyreek on the album singing a number of songs. He's in about a third of the album, and he has graced us with the his many talents to appear in live in concert with Kenny Barron. We're going to be in Alicante in San Javier, Spain, and on July 15th.
Mhm.
Yes, July 15th. And then we're going to be in stateside at the Detroit Jazz Festival. And
That's new. And
even
Healdsburg.
No, that's new,
Healdsburg
Tyreek.
next week. Healdsburg. You talked about going to California. You're supposed to tell me we're in California, so I
Right.
could then follow up with the Healdsburg Jazz Festival. So if you like wine, jazz, and Tyreek, hey, you got to come out.
Gotta go.
He's performing with Kenny Barron's band on June 9th,
12th.
12th, and
12th.
he's with his own band on June 13th.
13th.
That's right.
And then the San Francisco Jazz Festival on June 15th, and then
Yes.
Kumwa on June 16th. All that's
Oh,
more
yes.
than,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna
You-
get my
you-
Cali folks to come out to support.
absolutely.
You'll have a good time in Kumwa. That'll be your vibe. I can tell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like this.
definitely that kind of place.
got a couple more people. Justin Jones,
Oh.
awesome. I love Somalia Rose.
Oh, thank you.
And then Paul Ricci has a question. Italy? Not yet. Paul.
We got to make it happen.
We
Who
got to
you know,
make
Paul?
it happen. Paul lives there part-time.
Oh, nice.
Paul is like part-time in Italy and part-time in Brazil. You know, what can I say?
Well, God loves you, Paul.
Well, this has been great. Any more questions, Brian, for Tyreek?
No, I mean, I'm wondering about some of the song choices. I mean, I get some of them, and then where you went with it. I'm always interested, especially with younger artists, where they're pulling from in terms of their repertoire and how to
Right.
find your repertoire. And I was happy because you found repertoire that was both new and unique from artists like Nicholas and Alan Johnson, but also some of the older things like, Umbrella Man, and also the fact that you do blues. You did two blues, really like a real Chicago blues that didn't show up on the album, but maybe it'll show up at some later date, and more of like a Count Basie, Joe Williams blues that a lot of singers these days shy away from, and you kill them. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more. Brian Pace says Tyreek is bigger than Texas and Ron Burgundy combined. He's a big deal. Thank you, Brian. I think you did an interview with Brian, didn't you?
I did. We got the Brian Pace, the Pace Report exclusive.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
y'all can check that out. And I appreciate Brian because, I appreciate both of the Brians because to answer both of your questions, there was a huge question about legacy when it came to this project, and not just what will this mean in time, but what has this meant through time. What has this meant in the continuum of this music that we call jazz? Some call it jazz, some call it Black American music, as Brother Nicholas Payton would say. I think it's the whole thing is that we open up our senses and just realize the real root of what it is, not only to be a part of this music, but to be human. These are all beautiful Black experiences that we could all resonate with, whether, whatever background you may come from. I wanted to highlight music that featured and can resonate with as many people as possible because, I come from a pretty diverse background, not just being Haitian, but I grew up in Florida. My dad's American. I grew up with a whole bunch of Puerto Rican and Dominican folks. So it's like, I see what music and what the language of art can do to people and has done to people. So that was my attempt. I wanted to really reach and pay homage to the people that have come before us and introduce it to an audience now, because it still means something to somebody today.
Great. Well, Open
Very
Up
well.
Your Senses is available today, vinyl, CD. You can stream it. I think you've got almost 100,000 streams so far just on one song. So that we're heading there. We're doing really well. I can just say personally, I am thrilled and honored to be working with you on your maiden voyage as a recording artist and as an artist generally. So I wish you well and congratulations on your CD release, on your album release event. I have to stop saying CD because it's more than that. And thank you, Karen, and thank you, Brian. Brian, you were amazing in the studio, as I knew you were. I know you keep wanting to retire, but I keep pulling you back. Oh, wait, Jean-Pierre Leduc. Wonderful to hear you speak about. I know our friend Jean-Pierre.
Hey,
Thank
hey,
you. Thank
Duke.
you.
I know. I know you keep wanting to retire, Brian, but as long as I'm alive, I'm going to just keep trying to pull you back in. So you might as well just give up.
For you, that is not a problem.
And,
Yeah,
and
it's always a
clearly,
pleasure.
and only for you, because I tried to get him and he told me no.
What was this? When was this, Karen? Let me put you on that.
Karen, here's how it'll work. You tell me, and then I'll call Brian.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
I'll say it's
Listen,
Tyreek.
Tyreek, I'm really excited. I've been around. All three of us have been around long enough, but you know, I've been around from the label standpoint and watched launches.
Yeah.
Been involved with records that shot up and records that also were great, but just bubbled. I really, really feel the sky is the limit with you.
Yeah.
Just in terms of your charisma as a person, you're a good brother. I tell people, they say, "What's he like?" I said, "Man, he's such a good brother. He's such a good cat."
Right.
And you besides the music that you're going to be wowed by, he's also a beautiful cat that you're going to really love. You want to sit at the table with him.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to break bread with him, So I just think the sky is the limit. And you've got a great team, around you now. So just go for it, man, and kill them every time you go out there.
And if I have one thing to say, it's all of what Brian just said, but the ultimate is enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
It goes by fast.
Yeah.
Enjoy
every moment of it.
Yeah.
Because we will.
Right.
We'll be enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Very much. And congratulations. Wait.
What happened?
Michelle Taylor says the sky isn't the limit, it's only the view.
Okay.
Michelle.
All right. That's a great way to end.
SpaceX.
I know. No. Okay. Never mind. Take care. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you all so much.
I love you all. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Good to see your
everybody.
faces, everybody.